Slightly over 40 years ago, I had a vision. And in the vision, the Lord told me that I would have a child. And He told me that that child would be a great seed in the earth. And that she would be by my side. And that happened 2 years later. There we go. And it doesn't take too many of her broadcasts to realize that there's something very unique in this woman, in this child. My last child, I'll say last because we weren't doing it twice. And so, my last child, when she was, I don't know, I want to say about 2 years old, she started play acting. Well, kids play acting. And so she started play acting. She could read at a fairly young age, but even so, she would look at television and just set up the basement with shows. She'd have, and her star was the dog. Her family pet was the star of the show. Yes. We were going up there, she had the dog all dressed up, and the dog was looking at us like, help me. And he's either the cast or the dog is the audience. And so we thought, well, okay, she's young. She hits about 3, 4, 5 years old. She goes and she's getting into around 9 or 10 years old. And every day, we have to leave her alone because she has to go to this basement and do her show. Every day. We knew, no homework or anything. She's got to do this, whatever it is. And she'd get upset when you came in. But ultimately, we realized that was a call. That was her. And so by that time, her father always worked at a music school, so we started sending her to school for acting. We started sending her to school for voice and dance. She was talented, able to do all these things. And so she went through, she was in plays. What was the first play you were at the 8th grade play? Was Phantom of the Opera? Yes. She played that role, and then before that you did the monologue. I think it was Antigone with the, yes. And so she did. She and did well. She ended up going to a college where she would continue doing this. At 16 years old, she wrote a play and pulled it off at the Playhouse. And it was amazing. And so, again, not knowing, I'm thinking the great seed was going to be a scientist, politician, because in our world, we never thought the arts. But she was always artistic from a type. You hear people's story and you think, wow, when did they start doing this? She was doing this at 2 or 3 years old. And we didn't even know how she was doing it because we would just look at her and it would come out. But by the time we were looking at 8 or 9 years old, when she came home every day, and I said, she's born to this. This is born in her. And some of us, we don't recognize that. We sent her to music school. She was obviously a great student, honor roll student all the way through. She goes to college and begins to learn it. She tries out for one of the top schools, beat out 1,000 kids, and then says she didn't want to go. I'm still over there. I'm over there. One of the top schools in the country. And the kids are I was there with her. We were all day long for her to do these auditions. And so, because they only had, how many students were they taking? 40 out of 1,000. So I'm sitting there, and these kids are vomiting in the corner because of anxiety. They're crying. They're howling. She's asleep. I said, do you not know that? I know. She goes in, last one in the class, next to the last one, nails it. Out so fast. I'm like, well, did you do anything? Yeah. And nails it. Okay? And then she decided she didn't want to go. But that was in God's favor. When you said, because she ended up at Oral Roberts University. And so they were right. She won't be. She's going to school. She's going to get an education. And then if God still wants her to do this, He will set her up. As it happened, she has amazing vision. She goes to Oral Roberts University. She writes, what is the play?
Oh, Voice of Destiny.
Voice of Destiny. Apostle actually was the star. Final project. Now, why am I saying this? I'm telling you this for two reasons. Before her seed entered the planet, God ordained who she would become. And it 100% lined up with Psalm 139:18. And the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none. And so all of her steps were ordered of God. And even me, I couldn't even be difficult because God told me this is who she was. And some of you all have not seen them. I'm already nagging them about doing productions again because they used to do them. We had dinner theaters before you all came. We had real dinner theaters. They did whole dramas. It was amazing. But the point that I want you to understand is that winning is born in you. What we do, winning is born in you. And what you think you're waiting to become, you've always been. You may have done it, you may have been in a small environment, school plays, etc. We belittle things like that because that's human. And also you do have to grow. Your talents, your abilities, your gifts have to grow. But in the end, your destiny has always been your friend. It has always been your companion. It has always been your idle times, your play times, etc. Her playtime was putting on plays. That's what she did. And, you know, we try to sneak in. She'd get so upset. But yet I knew this was her calling. And I don't think I ever saw her do this until you did at the school, Antigone. You did the monologue. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I couldn't believe this child came from me. I really couldn't. I kept saying, who are you? Where'd you come from? But I always remembered, and she'll tell you, I always remembered that that's what God told me she was. So I never tried to get her to do another thing. I never altered her path. I never altered her course because I'd heard from God why she was in the planet. And anything that popped up against that word that I got 2 years before she was born, I did not, I promise you I resisted it. And she'll tell you, I became very aggressive. I'm still aggressive about her destiny. I am just as aggressive now. She's a grown woman. You all don't know that because you don't live with us. But if you ever heard us, it's interesting. Because I know that as a parent, and especially being an apostle of God, and at that time not even knowing God, but knew he gave me a vision of this child. And he said she would be a great seed in the earth. And I thought, wow. At that time, see, I was still trying to get my palm read. But you know what? I knew God spoke. I did. I knew he spoke. And I say to you, a lot of times children are out of destiny because their parents didn't believe. What came natural to that child was in fact their destiny. The exploiters. I would not allow her to be exploited. I just wouldn't. Because I did it by instinct. But I know that most of you, many of you all have brilliant children, and as a pastor for over 30 years, I know that the majority of the people I have met did not know what to do with brilliant children. Just bright children, smart children, quick children. And you will know that because you watch their play. That child whose destiny is weighty in them, it's a weighty piece. They are doing it. If they're going to be a builder, they're always going to tear up what you have and put it back together. Yes. You know, I know with African Americans, it bothers me when parents say, he's just bad, she's just bad. They just always tearing up stuff because we don't think that they are exploring. They are exploring themselves. And God uses all of that to build their dexterity and their attention. And so I had to learn that we let her. She tore up stuff in the basement, bless her heart. But look at her today, okay? But the poor dog was just so glad when she wasn't around. She'd come around, he'd go hide under the place. He's like, he don't know what to do. But that was her, he was her prop. And she'd make props out of different things. And because I knew that God had already told me who she would be and what she would do, I wanted to see it come out. Many times you need to allow your children to just play. Give them an area. Give them stuff and just see what comes out. Because we wait too long to talk destiny. She knew And she will tell you today. She knew. I'm sorry. I know what God told me about you. No, you're doing that. And since I'm an apostle, you need to rest assured I would move things out of her life while she's sleeping. No, you ain't doing that. No, you got to go. I'd be up 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because we are custodian of their destinies. Yes. And as a result, we already see to it that they're able to succeed. It was never a matter of she couldn't do it. Are you kidding? When I realized that she was going to be a prophet, I realized Paula was going to be a prophet. I told her, you're a prophet, use your mantle. You're a prophet, use your faith. You can make this happen. How are you? And she, you know what I loved about her? She just accepted it. She was like Samuel. She just accepted it. When my mother said I should pass these tests, I guess I should pass these tests. And so many times we're so busy working on their behavior and trying to make sure that they can behave well, we forget to nurture the thing that God put in them to have them succeed in life. And so many times I would talk to parents and I would say, why won't you just talk with your child? When Charlie hit 12, we started hanging out and we talked. At 14, we had a regular Wednesday day. You know, when you have more than one child, you need to give every child a day. And so hers was Wednesday. Now, granted, it was a little late. The other ones, bless them, had already gone on. She's a baby. We talked every week. She picked the restaurant, because you know, when we talk at home, sometimes you need to get out of the home environment. We talked in restaurants, and she told me who she was, but I poured into her according to what I knew God put her in the planet for. And she went to her first college. I hated it. God help us. Hated it. But you know what? She needed to know why it wouldn't fit her. And so I didn't intervene. I'd already dreamed. God had told me, now I need you to shut up. She's going to do this one semester, and then she's going to go where I want her to go. And I let her. Your destiny starts working the moment you were born. Right. You ever see the little babies in the car seats? Blah, 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 blah. That's a singer. Mm-hmm. Shut up, boy, shut up. No. They don't know how to shut up. It's working without them. We have, you'll see the child that doesn't like to be alone. That's your social life. They don't want to be alone. They want to hear everything. They pick up things. They listen to things. That's always the case. And if you start paying attention to the concentrations, the focuses, you will begin to detect it. Watch what they do when they think you're not around. They do amazing things. I used to watch them. My oldest daughter was so analytical. It was not funny. That girl could analyze anything, break it apart. I knew who she was. And I spoke to them, and I dealt with them, not as cookie cutter kids, well, you all came from me. No, as who God put them in the planet to be. And I didn't, a lot of you are like, well, you know what, my son's not like that. You don't even know because you don't pay attention to your son. Your son's a problem. Your son's a responsibility. Your son's a duty. The same thing with your daughter, your grandchildren. They're there. I watch my grandchildren and watch my attributes, my talents and abilities go to another generation. But I knew to watch them, and I knew to look for them.